Hi, I'm Brufio. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the world of reverb. I'm really a reverb fanatic, and in particular we are diving into vocal reverb. Finding your perfect vocal reverb, getting to know all the types that we have of reverbs so that you know exactly what reverb you're going for in your next mix. And if you ever wondered why some vocals sound so lush and some sound so in the mix, then probably that's also because of reverb. I would say that there is no mix in the world that gets professionally out there without reverb. It does a lot of heavy lifting. So let's talk about the different types of reverb, the most common ones, why they work for vocals, and how you can use them to create the sound you are after. Okay, before we jump into Cubase, let's cover what reverb actually is. Reverb is the natural decay of a space. Doesn't matter where you are, in the bathroom, in the studio, if you are outside somewhere between some mountains and you hear it echoing as well. So there's always where space is, there is reverb. It's what you hear when you clap your hands and then until it fades out. That's what the reverb is. Reverb can add space, emotion, feelings to your vocals, and it can completely change how the mix feels. But not all reverbs are created equal, that's for sure, and some are better for vocals than others, depending on the style you are after. So let's break it down. So first we got room reverb. As the name suggests, it simulates the sound of a smaller room, typically, also bigger rooms, but let's say a smaller room, and it's great for natural sounding stuff like an acoustic version maybe of a song. So you only have an acoustic guitar and the vocal. You use a room reverb to create a space for both of them. Maybe you record the acoustic guitar separately from the vocals, so you want to make space for them so they sound like they were in the same room. It's great for natural sounds. So if you want to have a vocal that feels intimate and close but still has some depth, then room reverb is the way to go. It's especially useful for genres like folk, indie, acoustic tracks, as I said, where you don't want to overpower the vocal with reverb. So it keeps the vibe, I would say, tight and controlled. Let's listen to room reverb. So a friend of mine, Ellen, sang this vocal. It's an Ariana cover.
Breakfast at Tiffany's and bottles and bubbles. Girls with tattoos who like getting in trouble.
And as you can see, we have all these scents here. So we start now with the room reverb, and one of the best room reverbs ever is of course the Ocean Way from Universal Audio. Try to make it a little bit bigger. So this is a really amazing room reverb, and I just used the Reverb over Vocal Solo plugin. You can see this is modeled after the Ocean Way Studio Room, and you can tweak a lot of stuff, the microphone's distance, everything, but I just wanted to show you now the room sound itself and how great it is. So let's go to the vocals. We have the room reverb pulled up, and let's add to it.
Breakfast at Tiffany's and bottles and bubbles. Girls with tattoos who like getting in trouble. Lashes and diamonds, ATM machines. Buy myself all of my favorite things. Been through some budget, I should be a savage. Who would have thought I'd turn me to a savage? Readily tied up with calls and no strings.
So it really sounds like a room, and a really nice room. You can use that also for drums, of course, and all that good stuff. Change a lot of stuff here, and you can see here Ocean Way Studios as well, the interior information, master EQ. Change the positions. Then there is spring reverb. This is more niche, I would say, to guitar players like me, but it can add a cool vibe to the vocal as well. So it's originally used in guitar amps, so if you're a guitar player you know what spring reverb is. As the name suggests, there is a spring inside that vibrates and creates like a sound if you overdo it. It has a bouncy and metallic quality. Sometimes that's exactly what you want. It's not the go-to for vocals, but it can work well for like lo-fi, retro, experimental tracks, I would say. So if you want something unique, give it a shot. So let's listen to it.
Breakfast at Tiffany's and bottles and bubbles. Girls with tattoos who like getting in trouble.
So do you listen to the metallic sound of it?
Breakfast at Tiffany's and bottles and bubbles. Breakfast at Tiffany's and...
You You can hear the spring.
Breakfast at Tiffany's and bottles and bubbles. Girls with tattoos who like getting in trouble. Lashes and diamonds, ATM machines. Buy myself all of my favorite things.
Okay, then we have hall reverb. This type of reverb is usually modeled after big concert halls, and it's perfect for creating some big lush sounds. It works for ballads or slower music or slower songs, or if you want the vocals to be ethereal or just big, like I would say Lord of the Rings soundtrack stuff, where you hear the vocals in the background. A hall reverb is great for that. So why does a hall work so great with vocals? It has a long decay time, so the reverb stays a long time. It has a smooth tail, which makes the vocal feel like it's floating in the mix. But be careful, if you do it too much, it sounds muddy or too distant, okay? Little goes a long way with hall reverb, I would say. Let's listen to it. Hall reverb, we have the Valhalla Vintage Verb, which is one of the most popular reverbs on the planet right now. Let's listen to that.
Breakfast at Tiffany's and bottles and bubbles. Girls with tattoos who like getting in trouble. Lashes and diamonds, ATM machines. Buy myself all of my favorite things.
So next is my favorite one, and it's the plate reverb. This is the type of reverb I'm going for most of the time, mixing vocals. It's a classic, it's been used since the 1950s, and it was originally created using big metal plates, and it has a bright, smooth quality that works for a lot of genres if you need like presence and clarity. But of course with modern plugins you can also darken them and all that stuff. You hear plate on tons of pop stuff, rock, soul, R&B. I would say it adds shimmer and helps the vocal sit up front in the mix while still having reverb. It adds shine to the vocal without overpowering or overwhelming the performance. So let's listen to plate reverb. Okay, the plate reverb we are using is the EMT plate from Universal Audio.
Breakfast at Tiffany's and bottles and bubbles. Girls with tattoos who like getting in trouble. Lashes and diamonds, ATM machines. Buy myself all of my favorite things. Been through some budget, I should be a savage. Who would have thought I'd turn me to a savage? Readily tied up with calls and no strings. Write my own checks like I write what I sing.
Okay, and the last reverb I would say you typically use for vocals is a chamber. This comes from a time when studios really used real chambers, like the plugin we will use now, the Capitol Records chamber number 4, which was of course used by Al Schmidt. So specially designed rooms for creating reverb, I would say, or spaces that were created to produce natural reverb. Then you put up some microphones into the chamber, you run the vocal through it with some speakers, and what you get back is amazing sounding chamber reverb. It has a rich and slightly vintage sound that works beautifully for vocals. It adds character, I would say, and a touch of warmth. So you hear it a lot in older records, but even in some modern records with some retro vibes. But of course, as I said, it's always like taste, okay? It's always taste, and use it, try it, and get to know the sound of the reverbs. Okay, now we have the chamber, which I really love. So it's Capitol Chambers from Capitol Studios. It's chamber 4, it's the Al Schmidt chamber.
Breakfast at Tiffany's and bottles and bubbles. Girls with tattoos who like getting in trouble. Lashes and diamonds, ATM machines. Buy myself all of my favorite things. Been through some budget, I should be a savage. Who would have thought I'd turn me to a savage?
Watching the video, I just wanted to let you know that I made some nice ebooks on how to get better home studio recordings, perfect vocals, mix and mastering, and I also made a drum sample pack with all my essential drums that I use on a day-to-day basis, so electronic, real, and 80s drums, and you can get them all for free now. Just go to brufiomusic.com/gift, download them, and you're good to go. And if you have a Roland Phantom, I even give you my Roland Phantom preset pack. So let's get back to the video. So now that you know the types of reverbs, I just want to give you the most important techniques for reverb. So I used send tracks. So you saw that I have effects tracks, and they are there so you can send every audio instrument, every track you can send to those sends, and you can use the same reverb for all the tracks. So that saves you CPU power, of course, and you can, as I said in the beginning with the acoustic stuff, combine different tracks together in one reverb to create them as they would be in the same room. Then the next tip I would say is EQ the reverb. So typically I would, for vocals, cut a little bit of lows and highs so the reverb doesn't get too muddy. Then you have pre-delay, which determines on which point it bounces back from the wall, so to speak, and creates the reverb. So that's, I mean, if you don't want to have a really drowned in vocal but still have a lot of reverb in it, use the pre-delay a little bit later so you still have the natural vocal coming in and then the reverb starts to get created. Layer your reverbs, that's a trick that I always do. So combine a plate with a chamber, put in a little bit, and then I would say less is more. Of course, modern sounding songs have a lot of lush reverbs, but still it's less than you might think. So don't overdo it, and little comes a long way. Always like mute the signal and put it back in so you really get, okay, I can hear the reverb now. Or put it back until you cannot hear it anymore. Then push it up until it's too far and then dial it back a little bit. But always create the mix in context. And there you have it, guys. Those are the main types of reverbs, my favorite ones at least. And we have another reverb like shimmer reverb that I use for guitars and stuff like that, but not for vocals typically. The key is to experiment with the sounds, get to know the sounds, get familiar with the sounds so you can use it when you need it and you know what you need. Always the best engineers have something in their head and then know, okay, I hear a plate reverb on that vocal, then they go for it. Yeah, find what fits the song and the style, of course, and I would say reverb can take your vocals from good to amazing. So if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, like and subscribe to the channel. I have a lot of stuff coming in 2025. I'm really excited about that. Get your free gift at brufiomusic.com/gift. See you in the next one. Peace.